that.
You going to do yours?
No, I don't need to. I'll do mine later. It's episode 20 of the Trackside Lounge, and we're here in a salubrious garage as well. We've got the fantastic Escort behind us. That is a Formula 5000 engine, I believe.
That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Pretty clean.
Yeah. Rightio. Let's get right into it. Nathan's got some great news. Well, it's surprising news. Is it the world's fastest car?
It was for a period. I couldn't tell you how long that period was, but it was for a time the world's fastest car, the SSC Ultimate Aero, so Shelby Supercars.
But that was after the Bugatti Veyron set a world speed record, didn't it?
There was a period where there was about sort of 2 or 3 different. They were sort of swapping the records, and Bugatti had it, and then I think Koenigsegg had it for a time, and then and then SSC. And anyway, so I believe this particular record was about 257 mile an hour or something. But about anyway,
400 k's.
But yeah, so the record-setting car has been destroyed by a monster truck.
So it didn't have an accident, so it was crushed by a monster truck?
You'd think that, right? I mean,
serious.
We've all heard about. No, I'm being serious. We've heard about supercars getting crashed or getting, plunged. There was that Bugatti that got plunged into the lake a few years ago, or many years ago. You might remember. But the owner of the world record-setting chassis or model, I suppose you'd call it, was so displeased with it that he gave it to a small American speedway and had it run over with a monster truck.
I thought it was like, how these production cars and they can't put them into service, so they go and crush them because it's a production car and it does a press car or something. I thought that's what you were talking about. He actually, the actual car.
Okay, was there anything wrong with it? Did it blown to death or something like that?
He was displeased with it. I don't know. I think the details are going to be a bit sketchy now that it's a piece of scrap.
I'm displeased with this car. Displeased.
So thrust became squash.
Thrust became squash, yeah, basically. So that's hey, better ways to spend money, I'm sure, but it's wrecked now. So that's a piece of automotive history gone,
Can you imagine
like it or not.
The insurance claim and what actually happened is a monster truck. It came out of nowhere, just landed right on, so it just completely destroyed it.
But there's always going to be that guy or girl who's going to say, I want something for my man cave, and look, there's a crushed record holding car.
A mangled
I just want to know what went through the head of the guy in the monster truck who was actually tasked with driving, because it was lined up with all the Ford Escorts and Maximas and whatever else people are sending to monster truck rallies.
That must have been like nearly $500,000 worth of car.
Oh, and the rest, probably, yeah. So anyway, look, that's a bit of unfortunate news to kick this one off.
I do have some good news. I was down in Queenstown over the weekend, thanks to Auto Super Shops. And I was talking to a guy about Ruapuna. Of course, with supercars coming to Ruapuna, and we were talking about the upgrades to the track, there's $10 or so million
$10 million
has been poured into
That'll be awesome.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Mate, they're gonna burn through 10 million pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the plans, and the plans look great about what they want to do. But honestly, the flash building they're putting up, that's like half of the $10 million. There's a lot of track work that needs to be done, and I think that's more important. What I will say though is this is a great opportunity for the maybe local councils around the Christchurch area or the ward to actually invest in something that's going to put money into Christchurch, into the Canterbury region. And it's not just for when the supercars are there. You're going to upgrade the track to international standards, and there's going to be more stuff that can happen at Ruapuna. So if you make the investment in it, and I'm talking about not just the 10 million, other businesses get involved in finding a way to make it work, because it's a great opportunity, and you don't want to shortchange it so that they go, oh, we won't do this again. You want them to go, God, this is the greatest racetrack in the Southern Island, and we just love it. So that's what I'd like to see, and I hope people do get behind it, because I don't think 10 million is quite enough to bring that track up to scratch.
Well, they need a better pit structure. Their pit structure is woeful. They need grandstanding for spectators. They want them to be there.
At this stage, grandstanding isn't a priority, but the pit structure, they've got to reconstruct part of the track. The runoff area's got to be bigger. There's some protection rails that have to go in. And I say the grandstanding's not a major at this stage is because you can put up temporary stands.
Oh,
right?
true.
So
sure.
that's a cost on the day sort of thing. So that's not a major. Making sure the track is right for racing and the facilities are there for the teams, that is a major, and that takes the priority, and so it should.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you're starting to make $10 million sound like not much money. What they've got to do to it, that's an awful lot of work. So.
It is an awful lot of work, but I've got faith. Yeah, to be honest with you, I've got faith in the race clubs of Canterbury to be able to get behind it as well and put their little bit of expertise in there, because I love Ruapuna. I set a lap record at Ruapuna.
Did you?
Yeah.
In a.
It was on a motorcycle on a Yamaha 750. It was the first time they'd put the little S-kinks in the back, and no one had ridden it. So, my 8.5 minutes per lap stands.
That counts.
It stood for exactly 61 seconds because I was the first bike out there. But, jeez.
Imagine you had petrol in the fuel tank. You would have gone really well.
Yeah,
cool.
And Supercars, I don't think has ever been to the South Island, have they? Because it's always been Pukekohe, it's been Wellington, it's been Hamilton.
Yeah. You're right.
Have they ever been to the South?
No, never been to the South.
No.
So they really don't know.
You've had a supercar, like Tony Quinn owns the Camaro. From,
of course. You've got the promotionals and stuff, but as far as an actual bona fide Supercars event with the Supercars circus, obviously we talked a bit about that a couple of weeks ago. That's going to be new and exciting for all involved, isn't it?
Well, that actually brings supercars into a whole discussion about Hidden Valley at Darwin on the weekend just gone, and that was a clean sweep.
What was it?
Oh, absolute clean sweep. I mean,
3 from 3.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Brock Feeney. I think the guy's showing, that he's got skills and talent, and he does a great job. But he's like, he almost won Bathurst. The car broke. He almost won the title. Will Brown got it. Before him, Shane got it. And I'm not being disrespectful to Brock. He's done a great job, but. Mate, he was Mr. Dominant on the weekend. Yes, I know I'm struggling to keep it all going, but there's an inside joke going here. But he got 3 poles and well and truly deserved 3 wins. But then, of course, the big P word starts to come in there as well, parity, because now I see the reports coming out that the Camaros were 2 kilometres an hour faster down the straight in the force. No lie, this is what's come out through Speed Cafe.
Yeah, do you know what that's to do with that? It's overheating issues, particularly with the Ford.
That's true.
All sorts of thermal bollocks.
They put a new thing in the top of the engine called a skull cap to try and streamline inside the engine bay, saying that there was a little bit of aerodynamic drag. But I thought the aerodynamics had been sorted out and everything with all the testing they did with Gen 3.
So did I. I thought that was... So, I don't know, are people making this sort of stuff up just for the sake of argument these days?
No, well, and I mean, obviously being so close to the equator too, it's the middle of winter at the moment, but like it was still... 30 something degrees there, 67 in the cabin.
Concerns for Tommy Randall too as well. In the last race, he would climb out of the car and he jumps in the ice bath, and he started to have some wear and tear on him as well. So puts the drivers through a lot. But I said to Nathan, because we actually watched the last race at the live on Sky, and I said to him, I do ask the question though, on a day like this, why don't they have the windows down or take the windows out? And I'm being quite serious. I know they have the window nets there, so it's not like anything's going to go in there and kill them. Supercars, take the sodding windows out so the drivers stay cool. Why wouldn't you use that?
I'm going to stop you there. Nathan, do you want to tell him?
He's going to stop me there. Now, for how many weeks has it been since you stopped me there?
You know when I said I stop you there? It means you stop.
Shut up.
Are you going to tell him, Nathan, why they have the windows?
Well, I'm going to assume it's to do with aerodynamics and sealing and all that. But I mean, for the sake of a cooler cabin, you'd take that hit, wouldn't you? If everybody did it.
Use your brain.
That's parity, isn't it?
That's parity.
Take out the windscreen. You don't need that. Oh, blimey. What if it rains? It don't matter. You got a crash helmet on. Get your visor going, mate.
Yeah, just let the anti-fog on your visor. Hey, on the subject of sort of supercars, talking about Richie Stanaway, who had a dismal Darwin. He didn't.
Yeah, he got dealt a hard hand.
But I saw an article just before the weekend, though. He's actually quite interested in to have a crack at NASCAR, not like Giz, but just to actually have a drive and have a go. And now I don't know. I didn't actually chase up in the article if it's the roundy or the street circuit. I'm guessing probably the street circuit.
Yep.
Because we know roundy is a tough nut to crack.
Well, it's just funny you should mention that because it was after Shane Van Gisbergen's dominance in Mexico that even the Americans were talking about the interest in racing NASCAR on street circuits from the supercars drivers. And of course, Shane back on the ovals again this weekend and not working well for him. But have you seen? There's a little video.
He had problems.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. You get him on a street circuit, the car's brilliant. You put him on an oval, and suddenly we got handling problems. So I'm not sure if the team know what they're doing.
Well, it also boils back to what you said last week about how the cars are completely different for the oval versus for the road course. Yeah. So it's we're not exactly doing apples and apples here.
No.
Speaking of apple.
Oh yeah, and pineapple.
I'm going to stay out of this one. But while you're drinking, I will bring up this for Shane Van Gisbergen. I don't know if you've seen the video for this. He comes into the pits, and one of his team, the guy that does the right-hand rear wheel, gets nailed by a stray wheel.
I heard about this.
The car that came in behind him, they come in, Shane comes in, and then another guy goes past, and this guy on the car behind had dropped the wheel, and it bounced, hit another car as it was coming, then shot over and hit Shane Van Gisbergen's right rear wheelman as he was going to put the thing on. And in the picture, it's a huge wheel. I don't know how much they weigh, but it's just got hit by a race car. So it's moving quite quickly. And what a hero. Puts his hand up. I'll just stop that there, mate. It actually knocked him over, but he was okay. But the commentator said that he plays lacrosse. So apparently that was a lacrosse move that he did that. But
you know what we call that, though? Occupational hazard. Because, I mean, let's be real. NASCAR never used to have a pit lane speed limit, right? They would come screeching to a halt from 200 miles an hour, and then they'd all clamber over. So even today with, speed limits and, the pit lanes are, and again, from track to track, some of the pit lanes are incredibly claustrophobic, right?
Well, the thing I noticed about the one in the weekend, the pit lane seemed wider than the track. Yeah. It was huge.
Yeah. But this is the whole thing, is that when you have 42 cars or however big the grids are, right, exactly, and then all of a sudden 30 of those cars react to a yellow or they all dive into the pits, you're going to get a lot of people in and around some pretty, some pretty race cars with a bit of momentum up them. So
and one of the comments too about the track, the pit guy getting the whack and everything, and they said one guy comes up because he's obviously a very clever keyboard typer, and he goes, "Well, that's why they wear helmets." I'm thinking, well, because actually apparently when he put his arm up, he actually smacked himself in the head, and luckily he had the helmet on.
Imagine if the wheel had hit him. That'd be unbelievable.
That's just incredible.
And staying in the States, Indycar got a bit of a run. Scott Dixon was leading for a while. Things looked good for him, and then he ran out of gas.
Yeah, 2 laps to go.
Yeah.
Ran out of gas. Had an up and down day. Yeah. But put in the effort and did a great job. But yeah, to have the call, but then they were waiting, they were gambling. And how often do we hear this? You run the call and you hope for a safety car. And of course, I mean, they have over in, like with Indycar and to a degree NASCAR as well, they sneeze, we're going to bring a full course caution because the sun's a bit behind the clouds. It's like, for goodness sakes, they have all these silly, and there's not just one lap and a safety car comes in. It must be, 5, 6, 7, 8 laps depending on the circuit that they're going to do this. And so they were gambling on this safety car and all but the good news for the team, though, of course, his teammate actually won, Alex Palau.
Yeah, it was great. And it was a thing I noticed. I thought it was a really action-packed race. Every little bit of footage I've seen, it's cars flipping past cars, and they come into corners and they go from being line astern to suddenly being 5 wide, looking for the moment to dive in there. And there was one, Marcus Armstrong. Armstrong. He was in front. They're coming into a corner. It's a left-hander. So they're blasting down there. It's got to come into a left-hander. The guy in the 77. His name is Stingray Robb.
Stingray.
That's his real name.
Stingray Robb.
That's his real name. Stingray Robb is coming down behind Marcus Armstrong. They're coming into a corner, and he hits the push-to-pass button, right? So as they're coming in there, he's maybe 4 car lengths back, hits the push-to-pass. At this stage, Marcus is coming down to the braking zone for the corner, so he moves across because he doesn't know the guy's there, right? Moves across to set his car up to go through the corner because that's what the guy in front of him did. But because Stingray Robb has his thumb rammed into it, he goes, "Oh my God," and smacks into the wall and goes off into the... And then he has the temerity to say, "He shut the door on me. Stingray, you were accelerating into a braking zone." Peanut.
So the push-to-pass system in IndyCar, that's not like Formula One then? Because F1, they've got, here's the zone that you can use it. But IndyCar, they can just push the button whenever.
They use the DRS system there. The rear wing opens up on Formula One. Yeah. Push to pass is actually an engine improvement.
Yeah, it kicks it about.
But they get to use it. They get to use it wherever on the lap rather than.
They've got so many passes they can use in a race.
Oh, okay.
And the idea is that's when you're drafting. Drafting, you don't need to. And so when you come out of the draft, you pop the old thing, and suddenly you got 20 more horsepower to jump out there and clean it up. But and I think it's possibly. Because it was the first time I'd ever heard of Stingray, Rob.
Never heard of him before.
In Indycar, and I think maybe he doesn't
I'm sure he's been in the game for many years, and he's a lovely person. But I haven't heard the name myself.
He might have been on debut, but it didn't harm Marcus Armstrong. He ended up finishing fifth. Mr. No Gas finished ninth, and Scotty Mac finished 12th. So obviously Scotty had a few problems. Scotty Mac McLaughlin.
Oh my God.
It's going through all the Macs there.
The thing is, with Mike, it's not the way you say it.
If I'd written it down.
It's the way you spell it.
Yeah.
It looks like McLaughlin.
I just put Mac down instead of Scotty Mac instead of the full name. But there we go. So he finished 12th though. At least he gets the finish. There we go. It works. But hey, there's some really cool stuff. But of course, some big high-speed, long-distance action Nürburgring.
The second of the triple header.
That's right, yeah.
The triple, well, not triple crown, but triple here. We had Le Mans last weekend, Nürburgring this weekend, and then next up's the Spa 24. Yeah, quite a bit of drama there.
Oh.
So, I mean, obviously, well, first things first, we had qualifying, and there was a Porsche in the fence, which, that happens sometimes. And one of the Lamborghinis, I believe it was Bortoletti, I think.
Sounds good.
Red flag, right? And of course, they've got all the different light towers and marshal posts, so there's flags and there's lights. He drives past 9 of them at full tilt, and they've all got the onboards, so like you can see clear as day.
He's red.
Yeah. And
hang on, but surely he must be talking to his pit crew as well.
And
it was only qualifying. Why do we need to talk to him? But anyway, so 9 different red flags, and then he overtakes someone too. That was sort of when he sort of started to back it up and hang on a minute, I should probably slow down. So he got hit with I believe it was some sort of a suspension, but it got postponed till after the race.
Right.
So I believe he was still allowed to race, but anyway, I don't quite get the logistics. My issue with that though is that last year we had Steve Brown, who's a pretty famous YouTuber and sim racer, who's now doing professional GT stuff.
We're not related, but we should be.
You might be. You never know. But he was deemed to be going too fast in a yellow zone. This is last year's race. Deemed to be too fast in a yellow zone. He got his license taken away from him.
Wow.
And that was like he had to basically re-earn his license from zero.
So a guy runs 9 red flags and gets, mate, we'll deal with you after the race finishes.
Yeah.
That just seems a bit off. Maybe they're trying to introduce a new rule at Nürburgring. Anyone goes past 9 red flags, they introduce a sniper. If you don't slow down, we will slow you down, sunshine.
They got like an orbital cannon or something that they can just,
But that wasn't the end of it though. Tell us about Kevin Estray, what he did in his GT3, because this is really cool. This actually highlights, and I think we talked about this before, the arrogance of some of these European drivers.
Well, 24-hour race, right? So you would think that you would pick your battles, and if there's something that you don't have to dive bomb them there, you can kind of bide your time, especially when it's a different class, when it's a slower class.
Yeah.
So he's second at the time in his Porsche, and absolutely sends it up the inside of a GT4 Aston, bumps the guy, sends him rolling over, so he's upside down and it's all horrible. And then afterwards, his comments were more or less, quote, he'd had 3 blue flags in a row. He deserved it. If I did it again, I wouldn't change anything. I'd do it all the same.
But I mean, I'd say, hey, he deserved a tap on the rear bumper. He deserved a little bit of a make him go, shaky and then straighten up. He deserved. You don't put someone into the flaming.
Well, they've got the 120,000 lumen bloody headlights that they can flash at them, and so anyway, look. They ended up crossing the line first. They won, but they got hit with a 100-second penalty, so that dropped them down. And I believe it was the number 96 M4 GT3 that took the win. So that was Calvin Vanderland and
Augusto Farfus and Jesse Cronin, and there's another driver.
Say that one again.
No, I'm good. I got the Van der Linde one. I think we got that okay.
Anyway,
you struggled with Scott McLaughlin.
I couldn't remember McLaughlin a minute ago.
Terrible with names this week, but so look, and again, it's just that whole thing about a 24-hour race.
Yeah.
Why do you have to take every battle and dive bomb everybody and be such, especially on a track as long and deadly as the Nürburgring?
Nürburgring is very, very deadly, but the old red mist comes down when you're racing, doesn't it?
But we see the same thing at Bathurst. We see the same thing at Daytona. Any of these major endurance races that happen through the year, it's always play for keeps. You know, even though they had, I think at that point they had probably 5 or 6 hours to go.
Yeah.
So
We're talking about a track that's quite a big track. I mean, we talked, the Darwin's like 2.7 Ks, I think it is. Bathurst is 6.2 Ks. How this is for people that don't know much about Nürburgring. Talk about how big Nürburgring, this because there's different formats.
Yeah, well, the 24-hour layout, I think it's like 25.4 kilometers or something, because it's the entire Nordschleife loop, which itself is 20 Ks, and then you've got the GP track, which, probably another 5 Ks.
I don't know how you remember all of that. I mean, Hampton's got 10 turns. Turn 10 is the long corner. You can't go wrong there.
But like,
25 kilometres.
You know when
Something
you're on
like
level
that.
1 in Gran Turismo, right?
Yeah.
And it comes up with the arrows and stuff and tell you where to go.
You just get one of those. Yeah, you just get one of those. The hometown hero, the Dacia Logan. I think we've talked about that one before. It got wrecked a couple of years ago. It's just a nothing little Dacia, and it's done every Nürburgring for, it's got a cult following, that car, right? Got written off in 2023. They built a new one for 2024, and it got crashed again in 2025. The problem with this one, and again, this is probably part of Nürburgring being such a big track, it's a bit ambiguous as to what actually happened, because there's the witness marks and the barriers, and there's all the tyre marks and stuff, but there's just nothing really to say. There was a broken Dacia and an equally broken Aston.
So nothing to do with telemetry that might be able to, we'll pull the black box out and see what happens.
Hey, maybe, possibly.
But imagine if the owner of the car just got really, really upset and said, I don't think that car was handy. Where's a monster truck?
Oh, God.
Too soon?
That would be too. Well, didn't American Lemons used to do that, where if they thought you were cheating, they reserve the right to run a bulldozer over your car or something stupid like that?
True story. Yep. And there was a time they had a digger. They had a digger there, and they were just pulling the thing apart, ripping it to pieces. And there was I think it's a Trans Am from memory. I stand corrected. And they ripped this thing literally apart. Oh, this is a Camaro. It was probably a late 70s, late 70s, early 80s Camaro. And they ripped this thing apart. And then this is like halfway through the 24 while the 24 is going, because they don't do many non-stop 24s, the Lemons in America anymore. And they ripped this thing apart, and then they just put it down and gave it to the crew and said, there you go, whatever you want to do with it, no problem. They had to go and put another cage in it, and they did. They got it all back and going again.
Oh, really?
Badly, but they got it going again.
Well,
but anyway,
Lemons, they would have hoped it was badly, because that's probably what got them into this issue in the first place.
Yeah, they were cheaters. They had a good motor, apparently. Well, guess what? That motor, because they made sure they pummeled the tires out of that poor motor.
What I think is they should penalise
Not that motor.
Penalise them by pulling the car apart and then selling the bits to the other teams.
Well, there's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean,
much.
You'd almost want to have a system where, because is it still $1,000 cars in American Lemons?
It's $500 in America.
$500 in America, right? You just have a system where bring whatever car you want to the game. If we decide that it's cheating, then sweet. Here's $500 to your car. Oh, but I've got a $10,000 motor. No, $500. You agreed that it was a $500 car, and So now I've got a Civic with a $10,000 engine and $1,500 suspension and all that sort of stuff. So.
And on that note, we have the first Pro Series this week, this Saturday at Hampton Downs 6. So they got the 1 hour, the 40 lapper. They've got the 3 hour, they've got the 6 hour. Take the Fiat along, so they've got that race on, first round of 4. So it's going to be at Hampton Downs before they do Taupo in a few weeks after that. So that'll be pretty good to see the sort of variety of cars that turn up, because that's starting to become more of a now. It is a national championship. Be interesting to see who comes out. Of course, Roxanne's going to be there. We've seen Zane doing the updates on how Team Checkered Pass is going. On your Zane, looking forward to some great results from you guys.
Gave that one a personal shakedown.
Yeah,
he drove it. Yeah,
the thing about that though is, I was introduced to Roxanne, and that sounds weird. I was introduced to Roxanne at the 24 Hours of Lemons. We spent a bit of time together. She blew out their big end, and then I think she dropped a crank or something. No, it was an HQ Holden. Originally had a 308 in it, didn't it?
Well, they originally had a 6202.
202.
Then they put a Lexus in it, I think. After
I was going to say, it's been a Lexus.
Gearbox.
It's been a Lexus more often than
it's been a Toyota more. It's been a Holden.
We'll have to get Zane on the show at some point and actually have him on the couch and have an interview with him.
I tell you what, if you get the opportunity to go and either go and see it at Hampton Downs or any of the Pro Series or the Lemon Series, or you probably could look him up on YouTube as well. Zane
Facebook, YouTube,
on Facebook.
he's pretty...
Team Checkered Past.
Yep.
Zane Shelley,
Yep.
Team Checkered Past. It's an amazing car, and he's a really good bloke too. So he's one of our mates.
And that's the cool thing about the Pro class. It's not just HQs, whereas it used to be Lemons cars and clunkers and that's still a thing. They can still run those cars. But the Pro Series is a next level up of car. You can turn up with a real flash car, not a $1,000 car. You can turn up with a real flash car. You can turn up with a late model Bimmer or anything like that. Godzilla if you wanted to.
I love seeing there's that Renault Clio. The little cup car.
Yeah.
Now that's a genuine. So they actually have a Renault Clio Cup in Europe. That's it sort of follows around some of the GT categories, and that the one that races in Lemons is a genuine like cup car. That looks the part, eh?
And
there's something about
that's a cool car.
Yep, proper.
Sirocco, isn't it?
Sirocco?
Yeah. What do they call it? GT24 or something? It's built for Nürburgring.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, that spec, because Volkswagen actually launched the Sirocco by entering it into the Nürburgring.
Yeah, but when they set a record around Nürburgring using a diesel Sirocco.
Yes.
So it got the diesel record.
There's the thing too. There's so many different lap records at the Nürburgring. Isn't there's fastest production car, there's fastest diesel car, fastest petrol. I mean, we'll
Transit van.
Yeah, fastest van.
Fastest fat man walking backwards. That'll be me as soon as I get it done.
Yeah, exactly. But look, hey, like you say, the Pro Series, it's an absolute melting pot of categories and cars, and hide am I, come one, come all. It's going to be good to see what sort of turnout we get this season, because every year the competition gets closer, and every year the competition gets a bit more hotly contested. Obviously there's champions from last year eager to keep their crown, and there's a few newcomers that are eager to shake things up. So
and the good thing about it too is that they stick with free entry, come and spectate, and that's the big thing. Free entry, come and watch, eyes on the cars have got sponsor stickers on them, whether they're seen digitally or whether they're seen by eyes at the event. That's what it's all about. Encourage the spectators. Drivers will turn it up even more so when they're actually in front of a bunch of people, and there's 3 people there, nothing.
Grassroots motorsport, that's what it's all about here at the Trackside Lounge. Now, you would think to yourself, you guys are in a pretty salubrious place. That Metal Man escorted the back. Metal Man, sorry. This Formula 5000 engine here. Last week we were talking to the man whose garage it is here at the GTR festival, wasn't it? And thought we'd take some time to introduce you to Carl, the man behind Logical Motorsports. Logical Motorsport, isn't it?
Yep.
Logical Motorsport. Off-road, on-road, racing, whatever you want to do, he's the man. So we sat down and we got Carl on the couch. Carl, last time we spoke was at the GTR festival.
Yes.
And we had a look inside I guess it was the RS GT3 that Nissan should have made.
Yes, correct.
Mate, that was amazing. Hey, first of all, thanks for letting us use your workshop for the Trackside Lounge. One of the big questions I've got for you is why GTRs, why R35s?
Well, my background sort of started, I was at Dodson Motorsport for a period of time.
Yep.
And then we worked with the Skylines and GTRs there.
Yeah.
And then I went out 2013 by myself.
Logical Motorsport.
Yeah.
I love that name, mate.
Clark Proctor sort of helped me out with his GTR.
Yep.
We did a lot of work with that.
Oh, nice.
And developed and did my own parts. I got a lot of customers in Australia and other parts.
Okay, so you're telling me that you've got customers out of the country. I know there's a couple of cars here, customer cars, that are not New Zealand-owned cars, right? The customer lives overseas.
Yeah, customers live overseas.
Yeah.
And I get gearboxes. So I sort of specialise in the gearbox side of them, but we do the whole cars.
Yeah.
We'll build everything from the normal day-to-day servicing to your full-blown race car. I'll take anything on. We'll try it. We'll try it all.
Mate, I've got a Fiat outside, Fiat 500. No, everyone says no to that one.
Yeah.
Question for you then. What's the one thing that R35 owners are doing to their cars that's the wrong thing to do?
Main thing, wrong size tyres.
Really?
Put the wrong size tyres on it, and it wrecks the centre diff in them.
Really?
Because they've been the four-wheel drive and the way it is. That's mostly one thing that people do wrong. They go and put a set of aftermarket wheels on it.
Yep.
And put the incorrect size tyres on it. Lack of servicing.
That's a key thing, I think, for all motor vehicles, though, but particularly when you got like a performance vehicle like an R35, servicing's the lifeblood of the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you should really an oil change every at least 5,000 k's.
Yeah.
And just general maintenance. Some people sort of...
See, logical motorsport, and that's why it's called logical, all right? Carl knows what he's talking about. So if he says service your car, you got to service your car. Now, I've noticed there's a few other things out in the workshop that aren't R35 related. You got a finger in a lot of pies there.
Yeah, well, we do. It's not just R35s I deal with. There's race cars as well. You know, I've been doing that for many years. So we just sort of try and take everything. Don't just pinpoint one thing. Yeah, we got a lot of my customers have multiple cars. I'm a Hampton's GT member.
Yep.
So you get a few of them. They're dealing with those guys and servicing and maintaining their cars.
And one or two of the cars actually stay at the workshop for a while,
Yes,
don't they?
yeah, we've got storage downstairs that we can store cars for. And
I've got a question to ask you, Carl, because we're going to be turning up here every week. Can we, like one day, like we'll finish early and we'll go and have a look down at some of the cars that are rocking around it? Yep. And what I'd really like to show everyone, if you get the opportunity, is the gearbox workshop that Carl's got is something to behold. You would swear he was a brain surgeon in there. The place is so clean, it's got all the bits that you need, and it will blow your mind.
We'll show you through that sometime.
Carl's a great guy, isn't he? I mean, it's so much stuff that I'd love. In fact, I think maybe we should invite ourselves into the workshop and just look at some of the work that Carl does here. You'd just be blown away.
You actually
really
would. You actually would. I mean, it's just such a well-kept secret that, you know, this guy knows what he's talking about. And like you say, it's easy to have big, 1,000+ horsepower supercars, but
Right. Blah, blah, blah about Carl. I'm going to wrap it up very soon because I want to do Hayden over the weekend in Ireland. Yeah, had a little bit of an oopsie-daisy at the second day. He was doing relevant. I didn't actually see where he was placed at the end of the first day, but the second day, oopsie-daisy, uncharacteristic for him. But and I actually take a bit of blame for that because I did say if anything goes wrong, he's the guy that can actually fix that thing from stern to bow, and unfortunately, he did have a few issues.
Oh, dear. Actually, speaking of rally, I just saw this on the weekend. Now, this amazed the hell out of me. The RAC rally, which is the Roger Albert Clark rally.
Yeah, Roger
Clark rally in the UK. There's a guy has entered a car. He's a 70-year-old man. The car is 50 years old, and it's a V12 Jag XJS.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah.
Really?
And it works. He's entered it so far in 4 rallies, and it's finished every single one without braking. So I'm kind of thinking it hasn't got many jaggy with it. So.
Has it finished them well, though? Because I just imagine it would be such a whale of a thing.
Oh, yeah, whale of a thing, but luxury. It's leather upholstery, it's stereo, sounds great.
He does it in comfort.
Yeah, totally. Of course he does it in comfort, like we do at the Trackside Lounge. We'll be back next week with more crap about cars and some good stuff too. Like and subscribe there at the buttony thing, and we'll catch you back next time. It's their fault.